So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Um, guys, some news about this Kell Brook fight. And I know a lot of you feel that, this fight is between two washed up guys, but it's a big fight here in the UK. And it's definitely, for me, if the fight was to get made, I think it'll be big news. I know people try to act like it's not, but I think if it was to get made, I actually think it's quite big here. And it's the end. I feel like it's kind of an end of career fight for both guys, just to top up their careers. Both became world champions. But what I want to say is Amir Khan made some comments that he basically said that, you know what, look, I'm not scared of Kell Brook. I've never been scared of Kell Brook. I fought Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. What makes you think I'm scared of Kell Brook? I think a lot of people seem to think that Amir Khan, it wasn't the fact that he was scared of Kell Brook because he fought Maidana, he fought Zab Judah, Lamont Peterson, he fought, Kotelnik, he fought some really good fighters, Devin Alexander. So he was not afraid to fight Kell Brook. It was the fact that he was afraid if he would, of the potential of a loss and what that would have done to his career. That's what a lot of people say. I do believe at the time there was a little bit of that, without question, because at the time he was still looking to do his thing in America. But I never felt he was ever scared of taking a loss to Kell Brook. I just think at that time, he wanted to continue trying to create a legacy where he could get the big fights. And I think Amir made a big mistake when he fought Canelo, because basically, I feel after that his career kind of ended. And I don't really think I think he was trying to look for the Mayweather fight and the Pacquiao fight. And unfortunately, those fights didn't happen. So he jumped into a fight where I didn't really think he had much chance of winning. And I think the fact that after the first six rounds, he wasn't even ahead on the cards. And most people had him winning the fight but the judges had him behind. So really, when you think about it from the outset, it was really an impossible task against Canelo. Canelo was too big, too strong. He was also a very good boxer. And I feel like Canelo had the perfect style to beat Amir Khan. I think Amir Khan would struggle against boxer punchers like Canelo Alvarez. I think Amir Khan never fought anybody like a Canelo Alvarez that was a boxer puncher like that. See, Amir Khan would have had more success against Floyd, because Floyd wasn't a big puncher at 147, and Amir would have had a lot more success. I'm not saying he would have won the fight, but he would have definitely had a lot more success against Mayweather, because I think Mayweather wasn't a big puncher. And I think that fight stylistically was a big fight, and I think Mayweather I think he looked at Khan as a risky fight. I don't think he wanted to take that fight at that. I think Mayweather was stringing Khan along. I never thought he was going to fight Amir Khan. But that aside, I think Khan was looking at bigger things in America, and he was trying to build his legacy there. The only problem I have is I think that Canelo fight was a silly fight. I think that really ended his career, because for me, there was two fights out there. There was the Brook fight that was massive. That would have been a legacy-defining fight, and a fight that would have been seen as 50-50, and I would have given him a very good chance of winning that fight. Also, there was a fight with Danny Garcia, which was a rematch. And again, that was another fight that Khan could have won, especially when you look at his performance against Canelo and you think about how good his performance was. Danny Garcia is not as good as Canelo. He's not as good a boxer as Canelo. He doesn't hit as hard as Canelo. I believe under Virgil Hunter would have prepared Amir Khan correctly. And I don't think Amir would have got involved. I think he would have outboxed Danny Garcia under Virgil Hunter. I believe the first time Amir Khan had no respect for Danny Garcia, and he went looking to knock him out because his dad had said a few things, and I believe he got caught. I do think in the rematch it would have been a lot different, especially under Virgil Hunter, who would have had Amir Khan prepped to stay away from that left hook, to stay away from his big punches, really. And I think Amir Khan would have done a lot of holding, but he would have fiddled his way to a points win, I believe, in that fight. And then it would have set up a huge fight with Kell Brook. That's the route Amir Khan should have gone down, because Amir Khan wasn't like these other fighters. See, a lot of these other fighters had to take big risks and jump in, like Kell Brook fighting Golovkin. They didn't have the profile, they didn't have the name, they didn't have the fame that Khan had. Amir Khan was making a lot of money fighting Maidana, fighting Kotelnik, fighting Zab Judah. He was making a lot of money. Yeah, he wasn't making Canelo or Floyd money, but he was making a lot of money. He was probably making similar kind of money that Crawford's making now, and which is a lot of money. So Amir didn't really need to jump in and fight Canelo. He didn't really need that fight because financially, Amir Khan was always in a great place because he was a huge name himself. And Canelo actually kind of used his name. They used his profile. They used his fame really to make that fight massive. And obviously Canelo being the biggest star in the sport at that point. But they kind of used Khan's name to make that fight. Otherwise, really, most people knew that that fight was, they were weight classes apart. Amir was too small for Canelo. When you go back and look at the fight, again, Amir looks so small compared to Canelo in there. Like, not height-wise, but like body-wise. You could just see he looks so frail compared to Canelo. Canelo looks huge body-wise. You know, Canelo must have been easy 20, 25 pounds heavier than Amir Khan. You know, but that aside, I think the Brook fight is going to happen. Personally, I think there's a great chance that fight's going to happen. I think it's the only fight really left for both guys. It's financially still a big fight. Dominic Ingle was actually, you know, Kell Brook's trainer, talking and saying that Khan-Ben would be a good fight, be a very good fight. And I don't think the fight has the same spite it did back in the day, because even the way Dominic Ingle used to speak about that very passionately, but now it's more like accepted. It's just like a money fight, you know. It's a fight that, you know, like a retirement payday check for both guys. But that fight doesn't mean anything anymore. I don't think it's that relevant anymore. It doesn't do anything for their legacies. I just think it would be seen as a entertainment. You know, boxing is entertainment, and this is entertainment, so I don't mind it and I'll watch it. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't do anything for their legacies, and more so for Amir Khan's. I'll tell you why. Amir Khan's not that liked here in the UK, so the British, some of the British fans are going to look to tear him down anyway. If he was to beat Kell Brook, they'll just say, well, he beat a washed up Kell Brook, not accepting the fact that Amir also is past his best and washed up himself. But this is what I mean. He's going to get no credit for this whatsoever. The only way Amir Khan gets some credit is if he fights someone like Conor Benn and beats someone like Conor Benn. And even then, he won't get credit because they'll just say Conor Benn wasn't that good. Do you understand? So Amir Khan's not going to get credit for beating Kell Brook right now. Even though if Kell Brook beats Khan, he'll get credit. And they'll say, oh, well, Kell would have always knocked him out, because there's a lot of people that want to see Amir Khan get knocked out, here in the UK especially. So he's not going to get credit regardless of what happens in that fight. This is why I don't really care if the fight don't happen, because I know he's not going to get any credit if it does happen and win. So what does it really mean? You know, but if he fought him in 2016 when Brook was a champion, undefeated, then he would have got credit. And that's why it hurts me that I feel at that time he should have taken the fight. He should have either fought Garcia or Brook instead of Canelo, because I feel he could have won both of those fights. And I think him taking the Canelo fight was just like, you know, it was a big, big risk. But it was a risk where that could end his career at world level, and it did. And the same with Brook and Golovkin. It was a risk and basically ended Brook at world level. I know Brook put up a good fight against Spence, but really, I think he was done after that. And I think Spence camp knew as well that eye injury is going to be a problem. And basically, Brook had to go right back into camp, not have that long. You know, he fought Golovkin in September and he fought Errol in May. So he didn't really have that long to recover. You know, he would have got a couple of months. And then in January, February, would have been back into camp. So he would have got a couple, 3-4 months for the eye to heal. You know, sometimes you need a year for something like that to get better. So this is what I mean. I feel like both guys really shouldn't have fought against Golovkin or Canelo. And that really probably ended their careers at championship level. I think Amir should have definitely fought Kell or Danny Garcia. I think they were the fights. It's interesting to see that Amir Khan is now sparring with Terence Crawford, and I think he has a decent relationship with Crawford. It's very rare to see that two fighters that fought have that kind of relationship, but they seem to be on a similar wavelength. I think Crawford always had a good vibe with Amir Khan, even when they were fighting in the press conferences. It seemed to be very friendly. They both had respect for each other. And yeah, I think the only time when it turned a little sour was towards the end, where he got hit low, and then Crawford kind of put it on Amir Khan a little bit. But apart from that, I think they squashed that fairly quick. And yeah, now he's training with Crawford. I wouldn't even mind him training with those guys, because being around someone like Crawford, and that Brian, even though I know Brian Bomac talks a lot, and some people don't seem to like, I actually think he's probably a good trainer, and they've got a good team there, so it wouldn't be a bad idea for someone like Khan to, go, and I don't know whether he's just doing it, because he's there and he's just training, just keeping himself in shape. But I wouldn't mind Amir Khan, even dedicating himself, going there and training with guys like that, because like I said, you're training with the best in Crawford. Crawford's at the peak of his powers, and he's dedicated. Crawford, one thing we know, he lives in the gym. So I feel like definitely, I think Amir Khan and going over there to their camp and spending time there around Crawford, I think it's great for him. I think it's very good. I do. Amir Khan rates Crawford very highly. He said multiple times that he beats what's it called, Spence. So he has a lot of respect for Crawford. I'd like Amir Khan to go there and train with them guys. I think that Bomac, although he talks a lot, I think he might be a good fit for someone like Khan. And I think that camp there, I like the way they work, and it's bringing Crawford results, right? So yeah, it might not be a bad move for Amir to go there, and especially if he's looking at the Brook fight, if he's looking to have a couple of more fights before he ends his career, it may not be a bad thing for him to go over there and settle there. I said a year ago, I think that maybe Amir Khan should have a couple of more fights and dedicate himself for 1 or 2 years and then call it quits, retire. But like I said, being around those guys, I think it might be great for Amir to go over there and for me, get great sparring, because there's Jamel Herring there, there's Terence Crawford, so that would be great. That you're sparring against the best, right? So I personally think that would be a great that would be great for all of them. I reckon it's great. That would be a great camp. And like I said, Amir being around someone like Crawford, the training, the hard training, I just think it's the right fit. Personally, I think it would be good for those guys to be in camp together. I think it definitely would help Amir Khan, if he's going to have another couple of more fights. So yeah, I'm thinking that the Brook fight is going to happen without question. Hopefully it does happen, and let's see what comes off of it. But yeah, in terms of him saying that he fought Canelo and Crawford, I think he kind of had a free swing at those guys, in the sense that I think he got Crawford at the wrong time. I think Crawford would have been a great legacy fight 6-7 years prior. I think if he had fought Crawford when he fought Devin Alexander, that would have been a different fight. I think it would have been a more competitive fight. I'm not saying he would have beat Crawford, but it would have been a more competitive fight. I think Crawford got Amir Khan at the right time, where I don't think he was a championship level fighter anymore, in the sense that to fight someone like a Crawford. I think when he fought Canelo, I felt like Amir was on the slide, but I still felt like he had a lot left. And obviously that performance against Canelo clearly shows he still had quite a bit left. It's just that I think he was kind of on the slide, because I think he was quite inactive prior to fighting Canelo. He hadn't fought for over 12 months. So he was quite inactive going into that Canelo fight. But then after that, I think his career at championship level. So I think that after the comeback was just he fought Phil Greco, Samuel Vargas, didn't look good against Vargas, and then fought Crawford. But I don't really look at the Crawford fight. I think he was past his best at that point. So that's why I think the Crawford fight would have been a great legacy fight, like in 2014. But it just came at the wrong time. It came at the wrong time for him. But yeah, again, I haven't got anything against the Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight. I'd like to see that fight. I've always wanted to see that fight. So yeah, it's a good matchup. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a fight that, you know, people will watch. You know, I do think people in the UK will watch. I know there's a lot of UK fans. Oh, it's rubbish, this, that, and the other. Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to do decent numbers. I'm quite confident actually it'll do good numbers. So yeah, hopefully it happens, and hopefully, you know, let's see if it comes off. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think this Kell Brook fight will happen now, or do you think it won't? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.